Now, to transition a little bit, for small businesses, this has really revolutionized in many ways, and I don't know that a lot of them are taking advantage of it yet, but I think it's happening more and more. For example, with our fiber-to-the-home technology today, a small business can get what amounts to what a large company has traditionally relied on for broadband and use it for their own purposes. So it used to be that the standard was what's called a T1 line, 1.5 megabits, right? That was priced at $800 to $2,000 just 8 years ago. Today, you can get our fiber-to-the-home connection if you're in an area where we deployed it. And we haven't deployed it nationally. We're only deploying in about 16 states. But you can get a 25 megabit connection. In other words, about 20 times the speed of a T1 line for $100 a month. So we've really improved the connectivity, the speed, and also the prices are much better than they were. And small businesses are not only going to have that advantage, they're also going to have this fourth generation wireless technology that's now being deployed as well, which again is up to 12 megabits per second. So a lot of connectivity, a lot of speed, and better prices are really characteristic of the industry over the last several years. So yeah, I told you I'd mention 3 policy areas that I thought you might want to focus on, look at in terms of broadband that I think are important. The Federal Communications Commission was asked to do a report called the National Broadband Plan. It was just completed recently. Our company and others participated actively in commenting on that and providing ideas to the Federal Communications Commission. And there are 3 areas there that you may want to focus on as small businesses that are important to your sector. First, one thing they focused a lot on, I heard energy mentioned, for example, and green technology. They focused a lot on how can broadband help improve the use of daily technologies or daily lives, improve daily lives through the use of technology. So, for example, green technology, especially managing your energy use, is something that broadband can help a lot with. And you probably heard the term smart grid. A lot of companies are working, communications companies like ours, on how to make the electric network work more efficiently and allow consumers to have control over their electric usage and actually control it much better and reduce their usage of electricity, use it more efficiently. So that's one area. Healthcare is another one where there's a lot that can be done. Literally billions of dollars can be saved, and also healthcare improvements can be made if we use broadband technologies more actively in telemedicine and those kinds of applications. We've done a lot, but we've got a lot more to do. People tend to think of the internet as actually advanced, that it's actually reached its apogee. And the truth is, we're only beginning to use its real capabilities. Much of what we used it for to date has been either e-commerce, in other words, invoicing and online commerce, or communications, Twitter, those kinds of things. And those are great, and they do improve efficiency and productivity and keep people connected. But in terms of improving daily lives, energy efficiency, healthcare, education, which Verizon is spending a lot of time working with a bunch of educators on a website called Thinkfinity, which has all kinds of online programs for teachers and kids. Those kinds of things are really life-changing, and we haven't even begun to scratch the surface on how to use them for that. So that's one area of the broadband plan the FCC focuses a lot on that you may want to take a look at. A second one that's really important is how to make broadband more widely available. There are about 7 million houses in the United States today, despite the fact that we deployed the technology, as I said, very aggressively, that cannot get broadband today, that don't have a broadband connection available. That's out of about 110 million. So we made a lot of progress, but we got 7 million people that cannot get it. So one of the things the FCC focuses on and how to do that. And one of the proposals is to take the existing Universal Service Program, which subsidizes telephone service today, and to try to transition it so it supports broadband technology. And that's an important area I think it's worth focusing on. And the second thing the FCC is proposing is to get more spectrum out there. Spectrum is the lifeblood of wireless. That's what takes your communications back and forth over the airwaves, the availability of spectrum. So it's really scarce. We need more of it, and the Federal Communications Commission is proposing to try to free more of it up, which will make these broadband networks, these fourth-generation wireless networks I talked about, more widely available. So that's another area. And the third area is how do we make sure that people that can get broadband today, the digital divide that the Congressman talked about, are using it. I mentioned that wireless is actually making strong inroads to sectors of society that did not traditionally use broadband as much. So that's been helpful. But we still got about 30 million households that could be connected today that are not using the technology. And surprisingly, it's not all cost. In fact, only a very small segment of those people say that cost is what's preventing them from doing this, from getting broadband connections. One of the things that's preventing them is they either don't understand how to use computers or they don't have one. About 58% of those who do not have a broadband connection don't have a computer. So the cost of getting computers, helping them learn how to use computers, helping them to see that there are things online that would really improve their lives, which many of them feel that there's just not a real important reason for me to get on the internet. When you do the survey work, you find that it's constantly mentioned, is another factor. So trying to find ways to improve literacy of how to use the computer, and providing new kinds of things online that they want to get access to are important aspects of getting more people connected. And that's another thing the Federal Communications Commission focuses on in its report. So those are areas you may want to look at in the National Broadband Plan the FCC has just released. A final thing that I did want to mention, though, in terms of keeping the investment going in this industry, Verizon alone invests $17 billion every year in broadband technologies and in maintaining our networks. Every $1 billion of investment is literally thousands of jobs are supported or created by those investments. So keeping the industry investing is critical. And there's one big debate going on now in Washington about whether broadband networks should be regulated using pretty much the old telephone net regulations we had in the past. Our view is that would actually stifle investment, and we really should avoid imposing those kinds of regulations. We do need to make sure the internet remains open. That's one of the debates that's going on now. I think there's ways to do that without a lot of regulation, but that's an important area in terms of keeping investment going that we need to focus on, is getting the right policies, keeping them in place, so the industry continues to build these networks out and we get this new technologies out there to everybody as widely as possible. Thanks very much.